Welcome back to Mom Mentality. This is a little bit different of a setup because I have not done video like this before, so it's a little new. I feel a little strange, but I kind of wanted to bring this piece to it because I really want this podcast to feel like a friend talking to you, like sitting around having coffee and just having a conversation. So we're gonna jump into this, and I might be awkward, but it's okay. I'll loosen up. So welcome. This is the podcast where we go over all the highs and lows and the what the hell am I doing moments of motherhood. This is a safe place for us to just talk about all the things that are hard, but also inspire each other to chase the things that we want without it being a completely impossible standard. That's what I want to talk about today, is the impossible standards that we have put on ourselves as moms and society has put on us as moms. We are out here chasing things that are just not realistic. And then we're beating ourselves up over the fact that we didn't achieve it, knowing full well it's not truly something we could achieve in the first place. We're like chasing it, this like blurry vision of what it looks like to be a mom, or a good mom at least. And there's not even a true destination. It's like once we get to the next step, there's something else that we should be doing that we kind of dwell on. We like feel like we should be more patient and more kind, and we should be able to do all the things, be all the things for everybody. We should be able to get the laundry done and have dinner on the table by a certain time and emotionally regulate ourselves and our children and handle the baby and nap times and snacks and the pets and the extracurricular activities on top of working or whatever other things, church, activities and community activities and birthdays and birthday parties. All of these things we're just kind of like holding in the air as if that's a realistic thing. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. We can't all be all the things to everybody all the time. That's why it takes a village, right? Because we were never meant to do this alone. And like being a good mom has nothing to do with the perfectionism that we have made it out to be. It's showing up and trying and being there and being connected and being a good person. Do you know what I mean? It's like you look at those like picture perfect models or, actresses and actors, and at some point you meet them and you're like, oh my gosh, when they say don't meet your heroes, then you're like, oh, they have a terrible attitude. It's kind of like that. Like we look at it from afar and think that that's the standard we're going for, that it has to be perfect. But the reality is it could look perfect, but be kind of rotten on the inside. Especially as moms, that's the last thing that we want with our families. We don't want to just come from a place of like, yeah, we're smiling in the pictures, but none of us like each other. And when we go home, we're all in separate rooms. You know what I mean? We want to, especially as healing moms, we want to have a close connection with our family. We want to have what we didn't have, right? Think about this. Where did we even come up with the idea of what a good mom needed to be? It's not like we came out of the womb and had all this pressure on us that we had to grow up and be a good mom. I mean, not technically. Of course, there's pressure on everybody the moment they come, even before, with the achievements and the things. But we don't come out thinking of that. We don't come out like, man, I need to grow up and be a good mom and it's going to look like this, this, and this. No. So where does that even come from? It's all things that we're picking up along the way from. It's other people's thoughts on what that should look like for our lives. It's society's thoughts. It's our parents' thoughts. It's our friends' thoughts. It's things that we're picking up and we're receiving and we're taking on, even though those might not be aligned with what we want. It's just what we have been conditioned to believe is the right thing to do, which I have my own feelings about if there's a right or wrong thing to do. In general, like I don't think that anything is necessarily the right or wrong answer. I just think that we make choices and then it moves us through life differently. And granted, yes, there's always a conversation of good and evil, but that's a whole other conversation. I generally try to look at things as it's not necessarily right or wrong. It's just the choice that's made. And then we go with whatever comes of that. So first it starts with like our moms, our grandmoms, as we're growing up, it's like they want us to play with dolls or whatever the stereotypical little girl thing is. And so it starts there with like, this is what it should look like. This is what's modeled to us. And as kids, we don't even see all of the stuff going on underneath. So we almost immediately see this picture perfect, air quotes, version of what it should look like to be a mom. Because a lot of times, as moms, we like hide everything from our kids and we don't want them to see any struggles. So they automatically think that you should be perfect. You should have no struggles. And we think that growing up as kids. And that could look like working moms, stay-at-home moms, the moms who are involved in the PTAs, the moms who aren't, the moms who craft, the moms who go on walks and exercise, the moms who are outside all the time, the moms who are inside all the time, the moms who homeschool, the moms who send their kids to public school. Like there's just so many things, so many variations, but it's whatever the situation that you're being raised in and you're seeing modeled, that's where that is starting. Consciously shakes. It subconsciously shapes the way we view motherhood. Whether we like that or not, that's what we view as what a mom should be or what we've perceived it as. And then, of course, as I said, you take it up a step from there and it's society. It's all the things we see in the media. It's, motherhood romanticized in every single movie and calendar, magazine, all the things, we see this and we think that it should look a certain way or it should feel a certain way. When we look at the stuff that's been romanticized, it's like we think that motherhood should be warm and fuzzy all the time, and it's just not. And it's the same concept with marriages. We look at all these rom-coms and we think that's how my marriage should be. And then, we pick it apart because we see something and assume that that's the way it's got to go. And the reality is life is messy and it does not look like what they have portrayed it to be. And we also have to think about the fact that commercials are selling us something, movies are selling us something, whether it's an actual tangible item or they're selling us the feeling that the movie or the storyline gives us, they're selling us something. They're setting it up perfectly so that we can have those feelings. That's not what real life generally is going to entail. Life is going to be messy. And on top of that, there's like this expectation that's been put on us that motherhood is like all sacrificing, that like we have to give up everything and lay ourselves down and let everyone walk over us because we're the moms and that's what we do and we care for ourselves last. And the reality is that couldn't be further from the truth. We have to be taking care of ourselves. If we're overwhelmed, we're going to be overwhelmed towards our kids. I can tell you right now, when I get overstimulated, I'm snappy as hell. And just today we were making a little cloud like lamp thing and we had to like glue cotton balls and it was just a whole thing. And my kids wanted to do it. And then we got into it and then the baby kept crawling on me. And then my husband was in the next room and I was like, I can't do this and that. And then the girls kept walking away or staring at the TV. So I just turned the TV off because the TV was on to keep the baby distracted, but she was not distracted. And then I was just getting so snappy because I was like, I didn't want to be doing it in the first place because I had other things I could be doing, like recording this podcast and other things. Cause like we had a plan for this evening and I was like, I got to get things done in the day, but they wanted to do that and they had been asking. So I was like, let's do it. Well, then when I got overstimulated and the baby's on top of me, it just set me off. And I get that way with game nights sometimes when the baby wants to pull on the tablecloth that I've got. It so overwhelms me and I get super snappy. But the idea of that is like not brought up in society. It's like you don't get to be overwhelmed. You don't get to have emotions. You don't get to take a time away from your family. They need you. You have to show up. And it's better that you're there and stressed out and acting like a dickhead, to be honest, and acting like an asshole than it is to just say, I want to table this and we'll come back to it later when I can calm down or take a break or whatever that looks like. They would rather have you be there and be miserable. And all this does is just leave us feeling guilty when we're tired and overwhelmed and overstimulated or just want something for ourselves. And then past that, now being in a digital world, like don't even get me started on social media, on the perfect moms, the mom talk, the this, the that, these highlight reels. And I know people talk about it all the time, but it doesn't make it any easier to not consume and to not compare yourself. We can hear all day long that it's just the highlight reel, and it doesn't mean that we don't see it and think that we want it, period. Even if we know it's not real life, we still look at those things and we feel like we're not measuring up to what other people are doing, that whole keeping up with the Joneses thing. We don't value our own lives because we see others, and it's like we start thinking that what we have isn't good enough. And that's actually kind of heartbreaking to me to think about that so many of us are out here looking at other people's lives and thinking that ours isn't good enough or that we're not good enough. And when you really think further underneath that thought, if you're thinking that you're not good enough, then your life's not good enough. And if your life's not good enough, your kids are not good enough. Your husband's not good enough. Your significant other's not good enough. And when you really break that down, that's sad. And it makes your gut want to like knot up when you really think about it like that, because we love our kids to the depths of the earth. And so when we break apart that idea that we don't have what somebody else has and it's not good enough, if we really break that down and trickle it down to where we're looking at it with our kids, I think that it would change our tune a lot. But the thing of it is like when we think that we're failing, right? And we're looking at all these things and we're like, great, like we're not doing good enough. We also have to ask ourselves, like, what are we failing at exactly? Are we failing at not having a bunch of money? Are we failing at, like, what exactly are we failing at? What are we trying to live up to? And is that something we even want? Is that even something that we agree with? So coming back to this idea that we have to do everything and we have to put ourselves on the line and be everything for everyone all the time. Again, that's an impossible standard. We're expected to be fully present with our kids, but also all the other things and have all of that in our brain, right? All the time. Manage the appointments and the extracurriculars and all those things, right? Have a career, have a marriage, everything. We're supposed to be patient and engaged 24/7, but also care for ourselves. Find time within all of that to take care of you, because they will say, take care of you, but not at the expense of other people. They'll tell you, can't pour from an empty cup. And they'll say that and they'll regurgitate it everywhere until you actually try to fill your cup. And then suddenly you're not a very good mom because you're not doing all the things. You took time for yourself, you whatever. And so then when we inevitably drop the ball on that, then we feel like we're failing and we feel like we've messed the whole thing up and that it's not going to be okay, because it's kind of mixed signals too. Especially in this time, I feel like there's so much coming up on mental and emotional wellness and taking care of yourself and all these things, but there's still that pattern through society that tells us we have to live up to these prior expectations. So it's kind of mixed signals. One minute you can't pour from an empty cup, and the next minute you need to be giving up everything because being a mom is a thankless job and you just have to do it because that's what moms do. And sometimes, I have to slow myself down because I work from home and I run a business. So I have a 9 to 5, I run a business, I take the kids to their things, I homeschool, I make dinner, so many things. And so sometimes I have to sit back and think about like what matters the most to me, what's my value in this, and why am I doing all of these things, and how do they play a part in our lifestyle and how we want to be as a family. Because my kids just want me. Well, I mean, they want toys, but they do just want me. They don't want me multitasking like 100 different things. So I've been really working hard to try to be more productive because I have ADHD, which I've said a million times, but I do. And so now I'm learning the way my brain works, and I'm trying to be more productive and figure out a rhythm that works for me so that I don't end up multitasking and I can be fully present with them and still accomplish the majority of the things that I need to accomplish, because let's face it, I'm not getting it all done. My house is a hot mess 90% of the time. I just don't have time. I don't have time. And I would much rather spend the time I do have hanging out with my family than cleaning. So I don't clean all the time. It's just messy. It's whatever. So let me say this just loud and clear for anyone who needs to hear this. You don't have to be all the things all the time. And you don't have to feel guilty for not doing it all. So if we were to redefine what being a good mom is. And if you think about the movie Bad Moms, how they're like, yes, we're bad moms because they like go out and like have fun. And that ends up being what it is that they just take off to like the perfection mask that they have going on. If we were to redefine that and let go of that impossible standard of what it looks like to be a good mom, I think being a good mom is someone who shows up for their kids in ways that really just matter the most, where they need to be, whatever that looks like for your family. Every family is different too. So that's a whole other thing. Showing up where you need to for your family specific needs. A good mom models compassion and empathy and, shows up for her kids in that sense so that her kids learn to be kind to themselves. A good mom creates a home that feels safe and trusting and holds space for each other, even when it's not perfect. They offer forgiveness and they have a good grasp on emotional intelligence and being there for each other. She also teaches her kids that she's a person too. Like I said earlier, when we think about our moms or our grandmothers who didn't say anything when they were stressed out and they hid every struggle they had, they were trying to do the best they could. They didn't want their kids to be worried, right? They didn't want their kids to have the discomfort of or the burden of knowing about, finances or, work struggles or strains in the marriage, whatever that looked like. They didn't want their kids to have to worry, and they were doing the best they could with that. And in their mind, not telling them was the best option because they didn't want to add anxiety to their kids when it wasn't necessary. So completely resonate, completely understand. However, a good mom is going to show her kids, not saying that they're bad moms, I'm just saying for what it looks like to be a good mom, showing your kids that you're a human too, and that you struggle and that you have needs and that you have boundaries and you have dreams and goals and all the things, showing them that that's not selfish and it's healthy. In my mind, that's being a good mom because you're showing your kids to value themselves. And I think most importantly, a good mom knows that she doesn't have to be perfect. And it doesn't make you a bad mom if you don't know that yet, but that's why I'm here to tell you that you don't have to be perfect and you can let go of those ideas because you showing up is what makes you a good mom. You just have to be real and honest and authentic and do your best. I mean, that's really all we can ask for. So here's what I want you to take away from this kind of different episode of Mom Mentality. You don't have to prove that you are a good mom. You don't have to prove that. You're a good mom if you're showing up. You're a good mom if you're doing your best. You're a good mom even if you're not. If you're like, you know what? I could do better today and yet I don't want to. I need to rest. You're still a good mom. You finding balance and knowing when to take a break, you're a good mom. You're already a good mom just for showing up as you are and just for worrying about how your kids are going to grow up and worrying about the future for your kids. That's making you a good mom. Even caring about it in the slightest and thinking about it, that's what makes you a good mom. Not every little detail, everything that you do, but because of who you are and the things that matter to you. That's what makes you a good mom. Now I want to hear from all the moms out there that are breaking cycles and learning to love themselves and show up in a way that is completely different from the way that they were raised. I want to know how you're redefining what a good mom looks like. How are you showing up? What does that look like for you? You can DM me on Instagram. You can leave a review with your thoughts. I would love it if you would review this because that's how I get to spread more love and light to people and to other moms who might need this. And if this spoke to you or you enjoyed it, share it with a friend or another mom that needs to hear it. And let's kind of take this journey together on rewriting what it looks like and taking back our feminine power that says that we're fucking amazing moms, okay? And have each other's back and support each other and hold each other up because that's what I'm here for. So that's all for today's episode of Mom Mentality. Thank you for hanging out with me. And until next time, keep showing up, doing the thing, giving yourself some grace, and keep doing that motherhood and keep doing you.